Hi everyone, this is Yoni here. I'm the COO and one of the co-founders here at ControlUp, and I'm really excited to share with you guys today a sneak peek of the upcoming ControlUp 7.3 version. So we'll start with a few slides, and then most of the show today will be, as usual, live demos of the new features in ControlUp 7.3. So let me just go to full screen here. I'm quite excited actually, because this is the first time we're going to actually do a full-blown demo of some of the exciting features we have coming in ControlUp 7.3. So the brief agenda planned for today is as follows. I will provide you guys with a quick company overview. We will review the ControlUp architecture, the online non-premises deployment modes, and most of the time will be devoted to actually showing you guys what's coming in 7.3, which is mainly the vSAN integration, our Linux support. For the first time ever, we are supporting in-guest Linux metrics, and we'll discuss briefly about the long-anticipated agent backward compatibility feature coming in 7.3. Okay, so a bit about the company for newcomers. We have been around since 2011, focusing mainly on providing monitoring, management, and troubleshooting solutions for virtual estates, whether it's VDI, virtual servers, cloud instances, etc. We have grown quite rapidly over the years. We are now more than 100 employees. We are based in San Jose. This is essentially our headquarters, and in Israel we have the R&D and product teams that actually deliver the products. I'm really happy to share with you guys that we are experiencing a tremendous growth in customer count. We are nearing the 1,000 customer mark, which is great. We recently onboarded really big names like Aetna and T-Mobile and Verizon, banks, companies like PayPal. Things are looking really great for us, and hopefully during this short 7.3 sneak peek, you will figure out why this is happening. So just to give you a brief overview of what we are doing over here. So I mentioned our three main use cases, and they would be monitoring the environment, providing management services, providing remediation for issues you can find in ControlUp, and finally providing analytics based on the historical data we gather from our customer base. We focus on managing the compute infrastructure at customer sites. So, usually an on-prem environment looks like the image you see over there. We see, vSphere or other commercial hypervisors. We fully support all the major commercial hypervisors, whether it's Nutanix with the Acropolis hypervisor, Hyper-V, ZenServer, and obviously vSphere with all the recent versions. We have an in-guest agent that provides really deep analytics about processes and sessions and user experience metrics running inside virtual servers or VDI endpoints. And we also support cloud-based installations. We have a full-blown API integration with Amazon EC2. Our roadmap includes support for Azure API integration, but using our in-guest agent, we already support any Windows workload that runs on the cloud. Now, one of the major differentiations between ControlUp and other tools is indeed the ability to actually remediate issues and not just provide visibility or monitoring. So you will see it with a few examples during the demo, but essentially we provide either built-in remediation actions or the ability to run scripts against the various entities we can manage with ControlUp. So I mentioned tremendous growth in customer count. You can see some of the names here. This is keep growing every quarter, which is great. We have local sales teams across the US. We have sales teams that cover Europe, APAC. So, just feel free to join the ride. Very quick review of the architecture, and then we move on to the live demos part. So ControlUp essentially supports two types of deployment modes. The first one is what we call the hybrid cloud, or online deployment mode. In this case, only three components are deployed at the customer site. One would be the real-time console, which we'll see mainly during the demo. The other component is the ControlUp monitor service, which is in charge of 24/7 incident alerting and uploading historical data to ControlUp Insights. And finally, our data collectors, which generally speaking, they are divided into two types of data collectors. One is the built-in agent. So it's an agent component running inside Windows workloads. And the other type of data collector is a remote API-based data collector, which we're using to support hypervisors, VDI solutions like Zen Desktop, like NetScaler, and new in 7.3, which we'll see in a few minutes, is the Linux-based data collector, which is pretty great. We host, in this mode, we host all the backend infrastructure, which includes the database servers, the license configuration, the static database of your ControlUp organization. Everything is hosted, which makes deployment and POCs a real breeze. We also support a full on-premises deployment, so customers can deploy both the ControlUp real-time server and ControlUp Insights locally on standard Windows servers. And that's obviously relevant for customers who, for any reason, are not allowed to work with a cloud-based solution. Okay, so as promised, we are going to jump right into the first time ever deep dive sneak peek of the new features in 7.3. So we are going to start with vSAN integration. So anyone who's been working in the IT industry, I guess, and specifically anyone who's using VMware, has seen the pretty amazing and rapid growth of the vSAN market share as part of the, I guess, HCI landscape. So vSAN is the software-defined storage solution for VMware. It's essentially enable customer to build really robust software-based central storage built on top of the vSAN component. So you can use, rather cheap SSD-based disk inside your ESXi host, and using vSAN kind of cluster them into a highly available HCI type of storage solution. Now, I'm really happy to update that we are the first vendor to actually offer API-based integration with vSAN. So without further ado, I have now switched into the ControlUp 7.3 real-time console. So this is a pre-beta version. By the way, the beta will be officially open during November. We still don't have the exact date, but during November we'll start the public beta. Anyone who is not currently part of the beta plan, feel free to send an email to support@controlup.com and just ask to be added to the beta, and we'll gladly add you so you guys can test it in your own environments. Okay, so vSAN integration. So for anyone who knows ControlUp, we have been doing vSphere integration for quite a while now. We support vSphere, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6.7, and using the existing vSphere integration, we were able to enumerate hosts. We enabled to enumerate virtual machines, data stores, all the entities anyone using ControlUp is familiar with up to ControlUp 7.2. In ControlUp 7.3, we actually expanded our API integration with VMware, and we now fully support vSAN clusters and entities. Okay, so you can notice here that when I'm now connecting to a vSphere cluster that actually has a vSAN data store configured, we now have a new object on the tree, which you can see here. So this is one, vSphere cluster that has vSAN. This is another vSphere cluster without vSAN configured. So you can see the difference on the tree object itself. Now, once you double-click on the vSAN cluster, ControlUp will focus on the vSAN object and will show you specific columns and health metrics which are relevant for this specific new entity. So I think it's quite convenient here. You can see that we have the vSAN data store itself. We'll cover the metrics in a sec. But we can also, from the same location, we click on data stores and hosts. And here you can see how each ESXi host is kind of, integrating with the vSAN data store in terms of I/O latency, I/O usage, congestion, etc. And you can click on virtual disks, and you will see all the VMDKs that are currently hosted on this specific vSAN cluster. Okay, so again, you can browse between the different entities. It's just enough to focus on the vSAN new entity in the tree. Now, we're using native vSAN APIs. Again, first vendor to do that. No special configs are needed. If vSAN is configured on your vSphere cluster, it's enough to just connect to vSphere via the usual way we connect with VMware. Just supply the URL to the vCenter SDK web service, provide relevant credentials, and that's it. We will automatically enumerate the vSAN data store. Now, let's look on some of the special items we have as part of this new integration. So you can see, kind of the traditional, I guess, data store metrics. You can see I/O usage, read-write, latency. These are probably the most interesting metrics for anyone who's looking on a storage object. But we do have some more advanced metrics specifically tailored for vSAN. And the first one would be the vSAN health metric. So I can actually go ahead and double-click on the vSAN health column, and by utilizing our virtual export feature, ControlUp will automatically expand into the vSAN health preset and will show you the various API-based vSAN health checks we're doing. We are running against the vSAN cluster in order to kind of calculate this vSAN score. So essentially, if everything is passed, then obviously the health would be 100%. If one of the tests fails, it will lower the percentage by 12 or 13%, etc. So here we can see that most of the important tests have passed, but we do have one test which failed, which is the vSAN online health, which is checking if the CEIP program is enabled. In this case, it's not, which obviously affects the score. Okay, so vSAN health, this is a really important metric if you want to kind of understand what's the availability of the vSAN data store. Obviously, you can connect an advanced trigger to this specific metric and be notified in real time if, for example, the vSAN health is dropping below 50%, for example. Okay, so vSAN health, that's one major metric we have going here. If I scroll to the right, you will see some additional metrics which are quite useful for anyone who is managing a vSAN-based environment. So one would be the congestion and outstanding I requests, which can give you a pretty good measurement about the current usage of the vSAN data store. And we have capacity metrics. Okay, so you can see here that the overall capacity of our small environment here is 300 gigabytes, and we can see here how much is actually being used by the current VMDKs attached to this vSAN store. Okay, I'm moving to the data stores and hosts view, and here we have some specific metrics which are relevant for this, ESXi vSAN data store combination. Here we can see, for example, the cache metrics. Okay, you can see here the cache hit rates, the cache hit IOPS, which are really important metrics in order to understand if vSAN is being used efficiently, right? So if actually the VMDKs are hosted on the correct vSAN data stores or the correct host. So real-time visibility in order to understand the vSAN data store efficiency. And finally, the virtual disk. Obviously, these are the 4 MDKs currently running on this specific vSAN. Now, probably one of the main advantages of ControlUp vSAN integration, if we kind of compare that to the vSphere client or VROps, is our ability to drill down all the way to the process level if the ControlUp agent is deployed inside the VM-hosted virtual machines. So let's look on one example over here. We see that the I/O usage is a bit more than 1,000%. We can drill down and see which specific ESXi host is generating the high I/O usage. In this case, it's ESX vSAN Demo 3. I can drill down and see which specific virtual disk, which specific VMDK is currently generating this high amount of I/O usage. Okay, and finally, I can drill down into the VMDK itself, switch to the processes view, and I can see here that DynamoEXE, which is the I/O meter app we're using to generate the stress, is obviously the process causing the issue. Okay, and as usual with ControlUp, we can go ahead and remediate the issue by terminating the process and fixing the issue. So again, with not just providing full-blown visibility into the vSAN object itself with all the relevant vSAN metrics, whether it's health or performance metrics, but we also enable you to see which processes running inside guest OSs is affecting the vSAN performance and health. Okay, so I do see one question from the audience here I would like to cover at this point. So the question is, can I get notified when the capacity metrics are underperforming? So that's a good question, because as you can see here in the UI, the capacity metrics are not performance-based metrics. But the good news is that using the new advanced trigger feature we added in ControlUp 7.2, which is already in production, we can definitely create a notification alert based on anything you see in the grid, which also includes capacity, right? So just to walk you through the way it looks like, I'm going to create a new incident trigger. I'm going to choose the advanced trigger type. I do need to choose the relevant data store, metric, right? So I'll choose the data store record type, and in here I can actually choose the relevant capacity metric I'm looking at. Let's say, for example, let's take used capacity. Okay, free capacity. So again, I can choose here something like less than or equal to, for example, 100 gigabytes. And by configuring this simple trigger, once the free capacity will drop below 100 gigabytes, we can get a real-time email notification, mobile app notification, or event log, event written to the monitor service. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, so that's pretty much it regarding the vSAN integration in 7.3. We do support vSphere 6.6, and we are doing final tests on vSphere 6.7. So these would probably be the supported version when we start the public beta. And yeah, if you have any more questions on vSAN, feel free to shout out during the via the question chat. Okay, so I'm moving on to the Linux integration part, which is probably one of the most exciting features we have in ControlUp for quite a while now. So I'm specifically excited by this because I think this brings ControlUp into a whole new place in regards to which workloads we support, right? So before 7.3, ControlUp is obviously a very popular solution for VDI environments, but we're also seeing traction with, I guess, traditional virtual server workloads, right? Whether it's SQL, IS, basically any virtual Windows server running on top of vSphere, Hyper-V, or Nutanix. But we kept hearing from customers that they're deploying more and more Linux-based workloads in their enterprise IT. Whether it's web servers, database servers, you name it. So it's something which keeps happening. And people who are demanding the same granularity, the same process level visibility and actions, also when dealing with Linux-based workloads. So I'm really happy to show you guys our latest Linux-based integration in ControlUp 7.3. You can see on screen here quite a few Linux boxes that we have managed with the ControlUp integration. So a few a few facts about how this integration works, right? So essentially the way it works, you guys will configure a Linux data collector, just like you do for, I guess, hypervisor connection or Netscaler or any of the remote API connections we have. And once you configure a Linux data collector, you can point it, or you can actually add the relevant Linux workloads that will be managed via that specific data collector. Okay, so adding a computer is quite easy. You can use, you can scan an IP range, you can type specific IP addresses, or you can import the Linux IPs via a text file. Okay, once you do that, our Linux data collector will initiate an SSH session every 5 seconds. Obviously, this is configurable, so you can do it every 10 seconds or every 20 seconds based on your requirements. So every 5 seconds by default, the Linux data collector will initiate an SSH session to the configured Linux boxes here. And we will run commands on the Linux boxes via the SSH session to collect all the matches you will see in a second. Okay, so this is how we collect data. I can tell you that the SSH footprint is really great. So it's, on average, it's lower than 1%. It takes only a few seconds to gather the data. Then the memory footprint is no more than 10 megabytes per SSH collection session. So the footprint is neglectable, and we get really great insights about what's happening inside the Linux box. Okay, I see a question here about which Linux distributions we support. So we support CentOS and Red Hat version 6 and 7. And based on, I guess, customer requirements, what we'll see in the beta, we'll consider expanding support to more distributions. But based on our knowledge and what we've seen from customers, CentOS and Red Hat are probably the most popular Linux distributions in enterprise environments. Okay, so once you guys have configured the Linux data collector and you added the relevant Linux boxes, you will see them on the tree, just like any other ControlUp managed computer, and you will see the metrics I'll show in a second. One last note about the requirements. So in order to collect the Linux ingest agent, the ingest metrics, we do need a few RPMs to be deployed. You can either do it via ControlUp or deploy it yourself. If you want us to automatically deploy the RPMs, then you will need to provide a sudo root account in here. If you guys are deploying the RPMs yourself, you can use a non-root account to collect the data. So it's quite simple in here. Okay, so once this is configured, you can see on screen a few Windows and Linux boxes we are monitoring. Let's look on this box here, which is obviously in a critical stress. You can see it's IL HQ SQL 01. This is a CentOS 7 Linux box, and we can see that both the CPU and the IO usage is quite high. So I'm going to actually drill down, and based on the virtual expert recommendation, I'm going to drill down directly into the processes view using the resource consumption preset. Now you can see immediately a list of ingest Linux processes. Now, so this is quite exciting for me, right? This is the first time ever that we can actually enumerate in real time processes running inside the Linux workload, which is great. So you can see here that the virtual expert automatically found the processes that generate this pretty high IO usage and CPU usage in this case. So it's a stress IO mix utility. Obviously, this is something we're running on the Linux box. Now, I'm going to show you how we can actually remediate this pretty high load on this box using one of our SBAs. So we have a script-based action which enable you to actually SSH into the Linux box. Okay, it will open PuTTY, assuming this is available on your ControlUp console box. I'm going to log in with a non-privileged user, and in this case, I'm going to simply terminate the stress ng process. Okay, so you will see now in real time, you will see that processes will be gone from the real-time view. You will see that the IO usage will drop, and you will see that the IO usage on the VM layer will also drop. It will take a few more seconds because we essentially generate, query the VMware layer every 20 seconds. But you can see here that already the real-time process data is updated. We no longer see the stress ng process running inside the Linux box. You can see that CPU usage has dropped to a normal rate. And if we wait a few more seconds, you will see that the virtual disk IOPS metric, which is again coming from the vSphere API, will also drop to a normal rate. So again, this is pretty great. Okay, so this, and here you can see that the IO usage has dropped to a normal rate, the stress level is gone down, and essentially we fixed the issue in this case by simply terminating the stress ng process running inside the Linux box. Okay, so full-blown support. Another note I want to mention here is that the Linux box will be treated just like Windows box in the context of ControlUp Insights, right? So if I'll quickly jump here, so those who are not familiar with our Insights platform, we provide real historical analytics for basically everything you have seen in the real-time view, which includes trends for CPU, I/O, memory usage. You can see session activity, you can see app usage, so everything which is relevant for someone managing virtual servers or VDI estates. And the note I wanted to mention about Linux is that all the reports that support our Windows-based data points, like CPU, RAM, I/O, so computer trends, computer stats, everything which is relevant to the agent data will be fully supported for Linux-based computers. So you will be able to go back in time, pick a Linux box which is sitting on 100% CPU and see which process was causing that via ControlUp Insights, which is pretty great. Okay, so that was a quick overview of the Linux integration in 7.3. Hopefully you're excited about this as I am. Now, the last feature I want to talk about, I'm not able to actually show it to you right now because this is still in development, but this is something which a lot of customers have been waiting for. So I'm really happy to say that in ControlUp 7.3, we're going to support agent backward compatibility. Okay, so this is pretty big, and let me try to understand what it will mean for example, someone who will want to beta test ControlUp 7.3. Okay, so once ControlUp 7.3 console beta is ready, again, it should happen later this month, you guys will be able to actually update the console instance to version 7.3. You can update the monitor service, but you will be able to connect to existing agent versions. So if you guys have ControlUp 7.1 or ControlUp 7.2, you will not be forced to upgrade the agent. You will be able to connect to the previous agent versions, again, 7.1 or 7.2, and obviously remain with that version agent feature matrix. Okay, so for example, if you guys would like to enjoy the new Linux integration, you will need to deploy at least one 7.3 agent that will act as the Linux data collector to get the Linux data. But for all the other Windows-based agents, you can remain with the previous agent version until you're comfortable to upgrade to 7.3. The same is true for vSAN, right? vSAN is a remote API query. So you can either get this directly from the console or the monitor, which obviously doesn't require an agent, or you can have one agent, like you can see in my case, I have one ControlUp agent which is dedicated to perform the remote API queries against the vSAN vSphere cluster. So in this case, the only agent needs to be kind of like mandatory upgrade to 7.3 is the agent configured as the vSphere data collector. So besides this guy and the Linux data collector, the other agents can remain with the previous version until you guys are comfortable with upgrading or updating your gold images. So highly anticipated feature, it's coming in 7.3, should make the beta process much easier, but it can also, I guess, make the production upgrades from previous version to 7.3 much easier because you can upgrade the agents in your own pace. So again, kudos to the engineering team, this is going to be pretty big. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Hopefully you guys have seen the value in ControlUp 7.3 and are eager like me to test it in your environments. I remind you guys that joining the beta is easy. Just send an email to support@controlup.com, ask to be included in the 7.3 beta. We'll add you guys to the email list, and once the beta bits are ready for the public beta, you guys will get an email notification and you can start the tests. If anyone has any additional questions, please reach out again via support or via licensing and controlup.com if that's a commercial question. Thanks a lot. Really enjoy the show and have a great day.